Shalom, shalom. I am pleased to welcome you. My name is Gideon Ariel of Root Source. I hope that you can hear me okay, even though we are so many thousands of years or really seconds since we started with all this high-tech stuff. You never really know it's going to work, but that's called first world problems. Anyway, I'm welcoming you to the Root Source 10th anniversary celebration and Bless Israel launch. So let's get started because we have a very busy schedule today. So let me share my screen with you. 1 second. Optimize for the video clip. How's that? Second. Yeah, well, meanwhile, you can see hiding. Oh, this is our website that I hope that all of you are familiar with. And we've been around for about 10 years now. So we're very happy to celebrate that. And I will just say that today we are going to talk a little bit about the history of Root Source, and then we will introduce some of the wonderful causes that Root Source is partnering with in order to promote them. And we will hear about that later on. Then we will complete our day, as usual, with Hatikva. Today's program is going to be a little bit longer because it's two programs in one. It's going to be about an hour, I think. But hopefully, I'm sure it will be recorded. So if you will prefer to go out and get a sandwich or something like that, when you come back, you'll still be able to watch more of it. So here is the page that you are watching this on. Right now, I'm pre-recording this so that you can just see this picture. But right now, we've got about $60 worth of donations here. We would like to get more, so please join the party. And no thanks, I just like to donate. I'm not going to go through that. You can figure it out yourself, I'm sure, and I appreciate that. If you prefer, you can donate directly on our donate page. I usually have to reboot this every time, so I prepared this. There it is. Not what's going on. Is there anyway? By you, it probably works okay. Let me try that one more time. There, you see that? You saw it for a second. Anyway, that's one page that you can this, or you can go directly to our new Bless Israel page and bless uh, one of the organizations that we are looking forward, as I said, to partner with. But before we get to that, I would just like to say, here I am, that we are starting off with our 10th year anniversary celebration. And for that 10th year anniversary, I pre-recorded a conversation that I had with my good friend and partner and co-founder of Root Source, Bob Odell. So let us listen to that. Let's hear about the history of how all this happened. So let me get that set up 1 second. What we got to do here, we got to share the screen and stop the. Yes, and on our way, bevakasha. Okay, shalom. Very happy to see you, Bob. And we're pre-recording this, but hopefully when you pre-record history, then it's still history. So what we're going to be talking about today is how Root Source got started, and very quickly go over the years that we were working most together as partners. How's that?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so just give me a second and bring on the page and share the page here. And we started in 2014 when we met.
On the
So
walls of Jerusalem.
that's right. Why don't you Well, I know that I always tell that story from my perspective. So why don't you tell it a little bit from your perspective here?
I came to Israel because I felt God sent me to Israel to try to be a blessing to the Jewish people. You were an invited speaker at Christine Dark's prayer conference in January of 2014. You came there to help advise us as Christians to pray for Jerusalem, how to stand guard and pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And we were introduced. There's a picture of us against the wall, and the rest is history.
Talk a little bit more about this meeting.
Well, so after our prayer time finished, we were along the ramparts there, and it's a very unusual day. A lot of things going on in the clouds, in the rainbows, and very unusual things up there. And it was a little bit distracting, but you brought us all back into focus at the end of the prayer time when you said, Christine, are you done with this prayer segment? Because if you don't mind, I'd like to announce something or say something. And so she said, okay, sure. Yeah, we're done. Go ahead. And you said there was about 20 of us gathered there, a little over 20 people, all Christians except for you. And you looked at the group and said, I had an idea come to me a few days ago, and my wife tells me this is the best idea I've ever had. How many of you Christians standing here today would be interested in learning Torah from a Jew, me, over the internet? And there was this little gasp that went over. This was 2014. This was not happening on the internet in 2014. And there was this gasp that went across the audience that, like, what? You would do that. And at that very moment in which the audience gasped, I felt like the Holy Spirit was telling me, this is why you came to Israel. Help this guy be successful. And so, without knowing it at the time, because I really wasn't familiar with all these scriptures, like in Zechariah 8:23, I was grabbing onto your seat without even knowing. I was saying, okay, this is your idea. I feel like God is saying this is a good idea. How can I help? That's really the essence. That didn't happen on the walls. It happened at a coffee shop on Emek Rephaim a couple days later when we agreed to meet and just to get to know each other a little bit. And that's when I shared this thought that perhaps I could help you.
Well, I remember you coming up after that announcement and saying you'd like to be my first student. And I said, great, let's be in touch. I don't think that there was even WhatsApp in those days, so we were in touch by email still. And
Yes.
and we set up to meet, as you said, and it took about 6 months of schmoozing to flesh out the concept of root source.
Yeah, and I remember you wanted to go to the National Christian Broadcasters conference that year. And
National Religious Broadcasters
Nashville.
Conference, yes, in Tennessee.
Right, NRB.
In Nashville.
NRB, yes. And so we met there and walked the show floor and asked people, sort of shared some ideas of what if we were to do this, how would you react, and sort of thing, and got some feedback. And you're right, it took about 6 months to really fully flesh it out, but it only took 3 months to decide that we ought to do something together. And I think we officially we sort of incorporated Root Source as an entity in Israel on April 1st of that year, which happened to be Nisan 1. I love it when the Jewish calendar and the Gregorian calendar line up. Every few years it happens, and that was one of those times. So we got to start right on the beginning of second quarter. And as an old finance guy, I love to have nice quarterly boundaries for reporting purposes.
I wonder what I raised my eye just now when you said every few years that they line up, but it's probably true because The Jewish months, the lunar months, are 29 or 30 days, and the Gregorian months are 30 or 31 days. So that's 1 or 2 days difference. So every month, if we start out at the same month, at the first of the month, like this April and Nisan, as you mentioned. So when Nisan comes to the end, it's only the 29th of May, yeah, 29th of April. So when May comes to the end on the 30th, so the next month after Nisan, which is ER, will probably have finished about 3 days earlier. So it's really about, I believe, 30 months between. So it's almost 3 years. I did not realize that it took so long for the months to get to that point. So yeah, wow, pretty cool. Anyway,
No,
yeah.
I'm
So
still very.
pardon me?
I was going to say things like that is what we would talk about. I was so young in my learning and my Jewish studies then. You were my primary teacher. I mean, it's not just that we were coming together to create this internet site to teach, but you were teaching me all the time, just like what happened right there. This is the way it is. You learn as you go. I'm sure you're even thinking right now about that verse about, teach them along the way wherever you're going. Your kids, your mentors, your mentees, the people that
Yes.
you're training, you're teaching, whatever. You teach them along the way, all the time.
That's right, and that is real. I'm gonna do a little commercial over here, or a public service announcement. What I do and did with you is what I offer everybody, and that is, let's just schmooze, let's just talk. For us getting together at the beginning, a lot of it was just getting to know each other. But if something came up in my mind that reminded me of a verse or reminded me of a Jewish teaching, then I would interject our conversation. I do interject our conversations, and sometimes take over the entire conversation with that kind of study. So that's very important. I
And,
remember
and
that we spent a lot of time trying to figure out what the right model for this would be. Because if I remember correctly, it was God who told you that you have to help an Orthodox Jew with a business. And I had this idea more of as a nonprofit. But you said, no, I'm sorry, it's got to be a business. I said, well, if that's what God says, that's what it's got to be. And we originally started out with Root Source being, well, I'm skipping a little back and forth over here. We fleshed out the idea. We started out not with just me as a teacher, but we recruited probably close to a half a dozen other teachers. I remember Rabbi Ilan Adler, who taught the Pirkei Avot, the Ethics of the Fathers, the chapters of the
yes,
Fathers. I do believe my friend Seth Young, Shimshon Young, started out with Biblical Hebrew, Introduction to Biblical Hebrew
yeah,
for Beginners. This is all just off the top of my head. I think we started out with Avi Lipkin also. And I believe also Ken Spiro. Was he one of our first teachers also?
yes. Your course was the very first one to launch. Pray Like a Jew. And Rabbi Adler's was close behind. After that, it took us a while because we need to get the bugs out of the website and everything. So then the rest of the teachers launched that next year. What is it? Was it in April? Sort of the official launch was in 2015.
Okay, I'll share the screen again so that we can move on to the rest of 2014. 1 second, I split 2014 twice on that's when we met. And in 2014, the launch of the website was in September. And we did that, if I remember correctly, yes, we did that live, didn't we? Or maybe that was later. The launch of the website was in September, but only the year after we had a celebratory launch. So that's
Right.
when we started with your Blue Blood Moons ebook. And we were very blessed to start with over 35,000 subscribers.
Yeah, boy, that was a hot topic in those days.
In those days, yes.
And we took an alternate view that the blood moons seem more like a sign of God to restore the Jewish people to their land, and that even during exile, there was a covenant promise to return, and it was being signified in the heavens. And so I feel really good about that.
So soon after we launching, either after or launch, a little bit after launching that that Blood Moons campaign, we joined together. We gathered together in the Begin Center, one of our favorite places in Jerusalem, and I believe we had about 100 people at that lovely event. And you were the keynote speaker presenting your idea, your thesis about the blood moons. And that began the space of reformatting that whole idea as the book. That book was our first book. Let me find it up over here. Israel First. What a great name for the book. The Key to Understanding the Blood Moons, Shemitah, Promises to Israel, and the coming Jubilee. Yes, it comes out a little bit better on your side. And we, Baruch Hashem, sold thousands of copies of that book, which was launched about a year and a half after we met, really. So that was wonderful.
Yeah, and all these books, the revenue goes to Root Source to bless the Jewish people.
Yes.
That was for a higher purpose.
In 2016, our teacher, Rabbi Yehuda Glick, we didn't discover him. He was quite a popular teacher, but he was elected to the Knesset, and we created a crowdfunding campaign in order to give out, I do believe, thousands of copies of that book on college campuses. We raised about $30,000 for that. We only ran the actual campaign the year after. We published our third book because I skipped over the second book. You probably have a copy, so why don't you show it, of Jubilee Now, which was really a sort of a sequel to that book.
Yeah.
And that was the year 2016. In 2017, we actually ran that campaign, and we were able to give out about 4,000 copies of that book. Amazing. And my oh my, at this point, we changed our model already. That's about 2.5 years, and we decided that we would give people complete, free, full access to all of our content. At this point, I haven't mentioned it, but I do believe that we already had closer to 12 teachers on Root Source, and each one was recording about 50 lessons on the average. So we already had close to 1,000 lessons on Root Source. No, with 50 and 12, so that's closer to about 500 or so. But it was wonderful. Now, what happened in 2018? We made a tour. I don't believe that you were there on the tour. Am I right?
I came in during the middle of it.
Oh, you came in the middle of the tour. That's right. And we did the tour together with our good friend Trey Graham. And most of the people on that tour were from his church. I like to call it my home church in Texas, First Melissa. And we got over 900. At that year, we passed the 900 videos on Vimeo and over close to over 250,000 views on YouTube. And that's when we presented the list to Speaker of the Knesset, Yuli Edelstein. And this was quite an important year. That was the year, if I remember correctly, when we actually published those two books, or that was probably the year before.
Yeah, but we published it as a big Excel sheet in 2018, and then you said, why not turn this into a real book? So
it was a very successful book that we published in 2019. Here is a copy of that book. I don't have you got it. Show it again.
I beat you to it.
Yeah. And show the side of it. Show it by the side. This is over 1,000 incidents of anti-Semitism in Christian history.
Yeah.
And we also, at the same time, oh yeah, now I remember the different the rushing over. At the same time, we published 40 Days of Repentance, a companion guide to the list. Thank you for showing that as well.
Yes.
And
Look,
we also began the nation's Ninth of Av that year, didn't we? Well, it wasn't
yeah.
us. We were the sponsor of it, but others did that as well. Very, very busy event. We participated in. By that time I was already going to Dallas for the second time. How I got to Dallas is also thanks to you. You want to tell that story, or shall I tell it?
You should.
Your father of blessed memory, you kept on reminding me that he'd been inviting me to come and meet him in San Antonio. And for some reason, I kept on pushing it off until I realized, my gosh, somebody's sending me a free trip to America. So I came to San Antonio, but on my way to San Antonio, somebody said, "Hey, I hear you're coming to Texas. I'd love to host you in my home, and we will be happy to, I'll invite some of my friends over there. I live near Dallas." So I said, okay. I didn't know how far Dallas was from San Antonio. So I landed in Dallas, and I got into a cab or something, rented a car, or somebody maybe drove me to Aunt Stacy's home in Granbury, Texas, which is about an hour south of Dallas, and therefore about 3 hours north of Austin. We were coming to Austin first before we went to San Antonio. You live in Austin. And I knocked on the door there in Granbury at Aunt Stacy's house and opened the door. There were about 50 people in her living room. And I said, wow, this was the first time I was ever in Texas. I said, but it's not going to be the last time, because people sat rapt. They were just listening to everything that I had to say. And that was very lovely. So because of that, I came back to Texas, to Dallas mostly, about 9 times in 2 years. And I only
Wow.
stopped when COVID stopped me, which I was actually very grateful for, because it was running me ragged. I was making a tour of the United States every 90 days, basically. So I was there for like 2 weeks on the pretty much. And I would spend about a month or two preparing for the trip, and then a month debriefing from the trip. So it basically took up all of my time. So I'm pleased that I managed to discover Zoom. Also, because of COVID, everybody discovered Zoom. I'm pretty sure that we would meet Bob weekly by phone. We met daily at the beginning.
That's right.
We were meeting by phone. But after COVID, then we started doing Zoom meetings like we're doing now. So I want to leave enough time for Revis. Hopefully, at this time when we're recording this, we haven't recorded with Revis yet. But to continue all of the continued history of Root Source. Have you got anything else to say before we finish up this time?
Thank you. I do have one thing to say. After working with you for 5 years, from 2014 through 2019, I really felt a call to write a book about the changes that had happened in me and through you to the world. And this book is called 5 Years with Orthodox Jews. It, as I like to say, it took 5 years to live it and 2 years to write it. And this isn't just about Gedon, although you're featured in it very heavily, foremost. But you had also introduced me to over 24 other Orthodox Jewish friends and the stories that came out from that. So this is about meeting the Jewish people, and it's really a call to Christians. Really, the mission of Root Source is to provide a place for Christians to connect with Judaism in a respectful way, a way that you can ask questions and learn. And that's basically the premise of this book. Is if you do that, if you connect with Gedon, if you connect with others, other Orthodox Jews who love God and are open to connecting with Christians themselves, and God sees that and blesses you with insight, first from the Jews themselves, and secondly, from the Spirit of God, that when he sees his Christian kids learning, interacting respectfully with the Jewish people, something is transacted from heaven, and some of those long-standing questions that you've had in your faith and in your life, he begins to pour in answers. And so this is a 40 stories, 40 different stories of what God did in and through the Jewish people and in the interaction that I've had. So this is really, although the list is the most important, truly, from its documentation of anti-Semitism over the last 2,000 years, this is the funnest book, is the most enjoyable book of the bunch.
I would say that the list, it describes the past, and 5 Years with Orthodox Jews describes the future.
Oh, well said. Hey, I wish you'd said that before I told this.
So, listen, what can I say? I only came up with that idea 5 years too late. Bob, it's been wonderful talking to you, and I'm looking forward to continuing to be your very good friend, best friend for many, many years to come.
Likewise. Love you, man.
So, Daraba, shalom, shalom.
Well, that was a lot of fun. Where am I? Must be here somewhere. Am I not here somewhere? This is not being recorded. Did I turn this off by mistake? Probably. Just a second. Did I turn this off by mistake? No, I didn't turn it off by mistake. I'm
Probably.
still on. Don't know how that's working, but it is just as well. And now I'd like to share my screen again. I hope I am being shown here. I can't see myself at all. That's the way. Wait a second. What happens if we do this? I got an idea. Let's stop sharing the screen. Ta-da! Here I am. That's the way it works. But I will return to sharing the screen now because we are going to continue on with our history. And just tell a little bit more what happened since 5 years ago about. Let's see what we've got over here. Let's stop optimizing this. Share the sound, even though there's no sound to be shared. Yes. So as we've said with Bob, we got up to the year 2020. We changed that year from an Israeli company to an American nonprofit organization. And I continued going, of course, to the United States just before COVID kicked in. And we also had our Hanukkah party, a virtual Seder. My wife, Devra, taught a lesson about the Book of Ruth, one of our more popular webinars. And we launched Bridge Builders, a list of leading activists in a Christian-Jewish engagement. I didn't plan on sharing this, but I really would like to, because after these 5 years, as Bob had mentioned, of Christians with Orthodox Jews, not only did Bob meet more Jews, but I met more Christians. And so together we interviewed about 70 Christians and Jews who were engaged and still are engaged with Christian-Jewish engagement, being friends, basically, just being nice to each other. I don't want to start pointing out because each one of these people are my friends, and you can all check it out at root-source.com/bridgebuilders. In 2021, we published a few more books. We initiated the Institute of Midrashic Studies of the New Testament. That's ntmidrash.com. I don't want to spend too much time on this, so you'll have to check it out yourself. We started our symposiums together with the Nathaniel Foundation. And like I said, we published some more books. We were very blessed to partner with the Adin Steinsaltz Center. Rabbi Steinsaltz was arguably the most important Jewish teacher in the world in the 20th century. And we are honored to host some of his, I believe all of his English speaking lectures on Root Source. In 2022, it looks like I already stopped coming to the United States because of COVID. Anybody remember when that was exactly? But we published 5 more books that year after the list, which we talked about before. We also started publishing the list 2020 and the list 2021 and the list 2022. Not only and really very minimally Christian anti-Semitism, because there's much less Christian anti-Semitism in modern times, but in general there's a lot of anti-Semitism. And here, for example, is our list 20. This is the list. That is the binding of the list, about 1,000 pages. Again, this is 2,000 years worth of anti-Semitism. And this is an example of the list 2021. We started publishing already the list 2020. This book is 1 year. This book is 2,000 years. Is that amazing or what? There's more. We had a fatter book in 1 year than in 2,000 years. So that is a little bit sad thing to see. That year we started Light Up the Church, which is coming up soon in November. We're going to be inviting churches all over the world to keep their lights on November 9th in memory of Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, which was in 1939. And this is a way for Christians to stand with their Jewish brothers. And that is some of the main things that we did in 2022. This last year in 2023, we started doing more development. We ran, of course, a Hamas War Needs campaign. We are in the middle of the Hamas war, which started last year. Let's hope that it's closer to the end than the middle. And we did a trip to the United States to have an honor reception gala at our friends, the Sarvardis' beautiful home in Dallas, Texas. So that is what we did. And now it is time to move forward and to think about what we are going to be doing forward. So like I mentioned at the introduction of today's program, this is the 10th anniversary celebration of Root Source, but it is also the launch of our Bless Israel program. So let me share the Bless Israel page to explain what we have, what we've done, and then I will share the videos of a few of the Root Source Bless Israel causes that we are promoting. So once again, let me get the right page here. That's the wrong thing. Okay. Yes. So this page, root-source.com/bless-israel.com, or you can just Google Root Source Bless Israel. You will get to this page. As you all know, all who bless Israel will be blessed as per God's explicit promise in Genesis 12:3 and virtually the entire Bible. Root Source is now partnering with great nonprofit organizations benefiting Israel and Jews all over the world in order to offer you the opportunity to bless Israel in a one-stop shop, as it were, internet location. So for more information about any of these organizations and causes, simply click on their link and you will then be able to make your donation and begin your relationship with them. If you don't see a cause or an organization that you like, please contact us and we will include it. So one of our, so let's go now to find the videos that I have prepared. Yes, so that we can actually see them. Let me get this ready here with our first video, second of Yashar LaChayal. Okay. Do that, please. Something's happening. That's the way it works. Well, maybe if we do it not on the full screen, it'll be a little bit better. Thank you very much. Let's move right on. That was a Yashar LaChayal, which means straight to the soldier. It's a organization that's very close to my heart because it started in the neighborhood that I lived in Ma'ale Adumim, and I was actually on the team of the people that started. It started back in the Second Lebanon War. First Lebanon War I served. That was about 40 years ago. And let's go on to the next. You people might know my friend Ruth Guggenheim, who is the director of Christian Friends of Emunah Women. So let's listen to her video now, Emunah.
And he will gather in the dispersed ones of Judah from the four corners of the earth. The sages teach that the world stands upon three pillars: on the Torah, on service to God, and on kindness to others. It is these pillars that Emunah's mission was developed to fulfill. Through them, we have transformed the lives of God's children, raising them up in their faith and settling the Jewish people back in their God-given homeland. Emunah believes in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and passes on these teachings to the children of Israel. Emunah runs over 160 projects in 73 cities across Israel. Connect with the people of Israel through Emunah. The people who have experienced years of persecution and destruction. They are hurting and need comfort and healing. For over 80 years, Emunah has helped hundreds of thousands of Israeli families break the cycle of destruction and despair that has been experienced from generation to generation. Emunah helps them heal. We have faith that with the right tools and support, they can break the cycle of devastation and build the chain of hope. With the necessary support, love, and care, Emunah can help the orphaned, abused, widowed, and survivors look toward a brighter future, one where they are able to transform their lives for the better. With over 10,000 children and families served daily at Emunah, every day is a blessing, turning faith into action, fulfilling God's word. Now, it's your turn. We invite you to join the Emunah family and be a part of prophecy.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Let's move on to our next organization. It's called Biadenu, In Our Hands. I will let it speak for itself. Let me just...
On Simchat Torah, our enemy marked the target and named the war the Al-Aqsa Storm. Our IDF soldiers in Gaza saw exactly what this war is about, the Israeli control on the Temple Mount. There isn't a single house in Gaza without pictures of Dome of the Rock or the Temple Mount. What they want is the Temple Mount, just because they understand very well how much it is important to us.
For the past decade, we have witnessed a paradigmatic change in the Temple Mount.
This year, on Israel's National Independence Day and Jerusalem Day, we saw that change comes from the bottom. Small actions like dancing, ascending with tefillin, and waving flags will become commonplace on the Temple Mount. As the war began, we distributed Temple Mount patches for soldiers to wear on their uniforms proudly and remember what this war is really about.
We invited the public to create a corner in their home dedicated to the Temple Mount and the temple.
We brought over 350 pre-military academy students to the Temple Mount to learn about their heritage as Jews and Israelis, broadcasted the Temple Mount and importance of bringing the Israeli flag there on Israel's major highways. With your support, we can secure the Temple Mount's heritage for generations to come.
This coming year, we aim to expand our activities and gather support from all around the world to the idea of Israeli sovereignty on the Temple Mount. We will establish our own team of archaeology students who will go up and ascend the Temple Mount, monitor and protect our own heritage. And most importantly, we will never give up, because the path to victory is in our hands.
The path to victory is in our hands. That's actually a play on words, because the name of the organization, Biadenu, means in our hands. It is named for the famous statement by General Mota Gur when he liberated the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount is in our hands. And this organization is trying to make sure that that is becomes a reality on the ground. You might have noticed, and if you haven't, then I invite you to review that little video clip. There's a little cameo appearance of me and my family, and also the deputy director is my son Akiva. But even still, it's a very important organization to support. If you love the Temple Mount and believe in prophecy, then I encourage you to support Biadenu. Let's move on to, I believe we have two more for today. This is my friend Sandra Baras of CFOIC, Christian Friends of Israeli Communities.
Hello, my name is Sandra Oster-Barris, and I'm the founder and international president of Christian Friends of Israeli Communities, CFOIC Heartland. This is an organization that I founded more than 25 years ago, but it wasn't my idea. It grew out of a relationship with some wonderful Christian Zionists from the United States. I had long been an advocate for the Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria, the wonderful towns and cities and villages that are often referred to as settlements. I myself have lived in Samaria for many, many years and was very involved in presenting our case. It is probably one of the most misunderstood issues about Israel today. So many people refer to it as occupied territories and believe the Jews don't belong there. And of course, I don't agree with that. And for me, the whole root of the Jewish people in the land of Israel goes back to the Bible. And if you go back to the Bible, you will see that the very first place that Abraham stopped in the land of Israel was in Samaria, and it was there near the Oak of Moreh where God first promised the land to his children. I discovered, and part of this advocacy that I was involved with, that there's a whole group of people out there, Christians. I had not encountered Christian Zionists before. I wasn't even familiar with the term. And I discovered that there were these wonderful Christians who read the Bible that I read and believe, like I do, that the land of Israel belongs to the Jewish people. And so began a partnership that eventually grew into this organization. It was a very wise Christian businessman who said to me at one point, you're talking to Jews a lot, talking about Judea and Samaria. You need to talk to Christians. Christians need to understand this. And that grew into this organization. What we are then is really the only organization that whose exclusive focus is on connecting Christians from all over the world with the Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria. And we're actually involved in three distinct areas. First and foremost, education. We are reaching out to Christians, beginning with the Bible. What does the Bible have to say about the Jewish connection to the land of Israel in general, and specifically with regard to the area of Judea and Samaria? Looking not only backwards, but also looking forward. What is the prophetic significance of what is happening in Israel today, and specifically about the return of more than 500,000 Jews to settle on the mountains of Israel in Judea and Samaria? Second, we're very involved in tourism. We're not only teaching Christians about Israel, but we're bringing them into Israel. We work with tour groups from all over the world and bring them into Judea and Samaria to give them an authentic Judea and Samaria experience, to meet the people who live there, the original pioneers, the younger people, and to see all the various projects that people are involved with, making lives better for so many people. And thirdly, we give Christians the opportunity to provide financial support for all these various good works and projects. For many, many years, we have focused on help to senior citizens, to children, educational programming, and security and emergency needs. During this past year, since October 7th, 2023, our focus has clearly been on emergency needs because this is what is most needed. I want to invite all Christians from all over the world who are interested in learning more about Judea and Samaria and who are interested in getting a real, authentic connection with the people who live there and understanding what we're doing and getting involved, to please contact me, Sandra Barris, at Christian Friends of Israeli Communities, www.cfoic.com. Hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.
Toda rabba, Sandra. Sandra Barris is not only one of my mentors in the journey that I have taken as a pioneer in Christian-Jewish relationships, but she's also one of Root Source's teachers. She teaches a class on the weekly portion, and I truly encourage you to check out her content and her teachings. And our last organization this week, I am happy to share with you, is called Crossroads. Let us hear about it in just about 4 seconds. 4 seconds past it.
Crossroads is a magical place where teens and young people in Jerusalem and from all over Israel come to make meaningful changes in their lives. And they come to Crossroads and they find another home often. They find a place where they feel protected. They find a place where they feel safe. They find a place where they could be themselves. Each year, Crossroads engages thousands of kids. We have hundreds of individuals coming in for therapy alone. We give an opportunity for kids to totally turn their lives around. I love getting these messages saying, I was at Crossroads 10 years ago, and I never told anyone this or you this, but you guys saved my life.
So when I came to Crossroads at 14, like at the lowest point in my life, Crossroads was there to see me go from 14 years old learning at Ulpan and now getting my master's degree at Tel Aviv University in its own way. Saved my life coming to Israel. I would describe it as home.
Sometimes, they can be really, really afraid, and I think part of what we do is we, hold their hands and guide them along the way and tell them that we're with them. They're not alone. I receive calls for people who are suicidal. So usually we go out to the streets every Thursday night, usually after 11:30 till around 2. We do art on the street. So we either take out a table with different art activities or different art prompts. I feel so lucky to be part of this organization.
I was just really, really struggling. I was very suicidal. I was very lost, and I didn't feel I had a future. I wouldn't be who I am now if it weren't for every experience I had here. I'm getting married, and I happened to meet my fiance here at Crossroads. If it weren't for Crossroads, I wouldn't be here. It's really a wonderful safe haven for anyone.
So you feel like you walk into an island, one of the most hard moments of my life, and that they were there, that the Rabbi and Mimi were there. That helped me a lot, and I'm not alone in this situation.
I was at the end of my rope. I didn't know what to do. I reached out. I got through to Leah at the time, and without any question, she was like, how can we help? If there's a kid that feels like there's nowhere to go, there really, really is.
Life-saving. Crossroads originally helped me be okay. They really gave me a chance at being understood, and Crossroads didn't forget about us. And they saved a lot of my friends' lives, and they helped me when I was going through my toughest time in my life. And I'm eternally grateful for them. They gave us a chance in a place where we didn't stand a chance.
If you came in one day and you were like, listen, I need help, it was like the world flipped upside down. They were at your, beck and call. They all support, all hands on deck. When you do need help, when you do need somebody there to, have your back, you'll know Crossroads, and they'll know you, and they'll be there. It was such a miracle that I had Crossroads when I needed it, because it changed my life.
I'd walk up to the front door of Crossroads, and then out of instinct, pull out my house key. My brain just started to associate it as home. I saw Crossroads intervene on behalf of people's lives many times. I almost dropped out of high school in 12th grade. One of the social workers who looked me down the eye and said, you're not dropping out of high school in 12th grade. That is stupid. She showed up at my graduation. I made it.
Somebody who felt very suicidal and that he doesn't want to live, I feel like Crossroads does save lives, actually. They actually save lives. It's not a joke.
I know we're doing something good.
Well, that was very very special. I personally am an optimistic kind of guy, and I try to show the nice side of everything, but there are causes in Israel that are deserving of your support. So if any of these organizations or any of the other ones that we are featuring now on Bless Israel is something that you feel called to support, then this is why we have created this project. Root Source, let me share for the last time here or so. This is the page that you are watching this on. So 1 second. Please click here to make a donation for this project in general, or go to any one of the Bless Israel organizations. And if you know of a great organization that's not here, please tell us about it. You can just contact us. And this is how you contact us. It's their source to contact us. And that is it. I was very happy to have this time with you celebrating Root Source's 10th anniversary. Let's look forward to another 10 and even 100 years, or maybe 1,000 years, if that brings anything to anybody's minds. And please let us support Israel together. And if we're already talking about Israel, let us talk about, let us sing together the Israeli hymn, the anthem of Israel, Hatikva, the Hope. As soon as I just get my stuff all together here, hope you can hear it. Toda rabah. Thank you very much for celebrating with us Root Source's 10th anniversary and launching of the Bless Israel project. Shalom, shalom.